Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the #1 source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter. Hey, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter, and welcome to Saturday Night Dialogues. It is February the 14th, 2026. I know, happy Valentine's Day. I know a lot of people are busy with their Valentine tonight. So I'm going to get into this call so we can get things started. I don't want to hold anybody up from having a good time with their Valentine. All right. Father God, we thank you for allowing us to be here. As always, we thank you for another day. We thank you for life. Thank you for breath. Thank you for being able to lean upon you no matter what it is that we may need to lean upon you for. You are always on time. Thank you for this opportunity that we all have before us to be a part of this blessing that you have been so gracious to make us all aware of. We thank you for each and every person that has been a blessing, not only to themselves, but for those that are in their families, their friends, those they've shared this blessing with, those that they care for. And we thank you for allowing us to be your vessels in this opportunity. In your precious name we pray. Amen. Also, I want to also give a special shout out and a special prayer for Peculiar Ram and her loved ones. She had a tragedy in the family last week. And so I just want to send love and prayers to her as well. All right. Folks, tonight, before we get into the announcements, just so that you are aware, I'm going to touch on something tonight regarding Iraq and the reforms. I did something very intentional earlier, and I'm going to touch on it tonight. And you all will appreciate what I'm going to share with you from Iraq. All right. But let me get into the quick announcements and let's get this thing started. Of course, Goldilocks QF room is a read-only room now. Of course, that's where 12 hours a day, 6 days a week for over a year and a half, we poured and taught into the people. It was pretty much a classroom for 12 hours a day. And we are so grateful that many of you are now completely set and sorted with your bankers. You're ready for your exchanges. Many of you have your contracts signed for your exchange. You have trust accounts, debit cards for when your funds enter your account. And we are so happy for you. That's the QF room, the Goldilocks QF room, where we were able to do all that. Myself, Wiley, and the tribe. We're so grateful. Then we have Dee's room, of course, where Dee drops a ton of articles from around the globe on what's happening in the financial system. And then last but not least, Goldilocks Global Banking News, which is your daily podcast where Goldilocks' daily articles we break down for you in audio form in podcast and bring it to you so that you don't miss out on any of the updates. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel and turn your notifications on so that you are completely aware when things drop, when the podcast drop on a daily basis. All right. Now, I want to remind you all of something that you've heard me say before, but I want to make sure I say it again. That Freedom Fighter stands on the shoulders of two giants, and I mean that wholeheartedly, and that is Goldilocks and Wiley. They are the ones that have laid the foundation, even for all of us to be here together, and definitely for me when Wiley in the old room saw it fit that I use my banking experience and be of help to you all. So I'm just a vessel. I stand on the shoulders of Goldilocks and Wiley very, very humbly. All right, folks. Now, real quick, I'm going to call on someone here shortly, a volunteer. I don't know who it's going to be, but I'm going to ask for a volunteer on the call tonight to read something very, very short, very, very short and simple. But I'll get you that in a moment. Real quick, matter of fact, hold that. Ty Too Pretty, I see you. We're going to come to you real quick. I would like for you to do something for us before we get into this call. I'm going to unmute you in a second, Ty, but let me get to this real quick, folks. Iraq in 2024, and I did this intentionally, okay? Folks, the reforms, and we're going to touch on this tonight about the reforms that Iraq has implemented since the last 2.5, almost 3 years. Vietnam, same, and the global financial reforms that are now in motion. That all reforms, folks, reforms are the foundation that is set and needed for any currency to revalue. I don't care what currency it is. Reforms are the foundation to provide the stability behind the currency in order for it to revalue. Now, I did something very intentional. I posted on Twitter a live update that was on live television, and the beautiful Glock Nest Monster and her mom was so gracious, which was Funny Money Stalker, to send in the question to the Prime Minister of Iraq on April the 19th, 2024, about a year and a half ago. And it was Glock Nest that sent it in. And we're going to touch on that here in a little bit because it's relevant to what's happening right now and relevant in order for the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar. The reforms that the Prime Minister spoke about that is implemented by the Central Bank of Iraq, they have been implementing those reforms in preparation for the RV of the dinar specifically. And many of those reforms are completed with some more still outstanding. We're going to touch on the reason why I wanted to bring that up, because an article that Goldilocks shared this week is actually in alignment with what the Prime Minister mentioned about the RV a year and a half ago on that live call. We're going to touch on that. It's very important. Just think about it. The reforms back a year and a half ago that the Prime Minister spoke about. Just imagine if those reforms were not even completed. Just imagine if a year and a half ago, the reforms were not even on the table. Where would we be at now? Ty Too Pretty, I'm going to come to you real quick. I would love for you, for those that don't know, this young man, Ty Too Pretty. How you doing, young man? Ty, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Real quick. All right. What I would love for you to do, folks, this young man has had several meetings with his private wealth management firm. He's been on golf outings, attorneys all set up. He had a Zoom meeting today and another one on the 25th. You have some background noise, Ty, wherever you are. Are you driving?
No.
Okay. Oh, that's better. That's much better. Okay. And Ty sent me a itinerary of a meeting he had, a Zoom call meeting he had today with one of the major international wealth management firms that is absolutely involved with the revaluation of currencies. And there's another one that he has on the 25th, a meeting that is another firm, international firm. And folks, these firms are the firms you see on national television all the time being spoken about. I'm going to read real quick the agenda for today's meeting reads, name of the firm, I'm not going to mention it openly on the call, suggests considering emerging markets in your portfolio. So this is what they're sending to their clients. Consider, they're suggesting to consider their clients to consider emerging markets, meaning currencies, in their portfolios due to a global alignment of growth, currency shifts, and improving fundamentals, and invites you to watch the emerging markets ready for their close-up. Folks, emerging market currencies are the Vietnamese dong, the Iraqi dinar, the Venezuelan bolivar. There's several others, but I'm mentioning those three specifically because I know many of us have those currencies. This is an international firm that trades in the trillions of dollars daily in Forex, letting their clients know, hey, we are suggesting that you may want to consider investing in these currencies. I should have, Ty, I should have shared this, but and blacked out the name of the firm, but I didn't speak to you ahead of time to ask if that was okay. But nonetheless, if you can give us an update, you had this call. And folks, also, for those of you who don't know this young man, amazing young man. At the time we met him about a year or so ago, your daughter was 3. She's 4 now?
Oh, yeah, she's 4.
And so, folks, this young man, his wealth manager suggested to him when he met with the wealth management firm last year, they suggested that he brings his daughter to the meeting. Right or wrong?
Correct.
And she ate up all the food,
Yeah,
and the candy at the meeting. But this young man in his early 20s, and he followed the steps that we provided in the room to the T. But he's sharp, and if you want to know why he's sharp, you should know his mama. She's the sharp. That's where he gets it from. But give us a quick update, young man, on this meeting you had today.
Oh, yeah. So it kind of boiled down to of how, you see the events going on geopolitically.
Mm-hmm.
Said normally there's a stronger dollar during that time, but he said during around this time, it's a weaker dollar.
Mm-hmm.
And when there's a weaker dollar, that means there's, how can I put it? I don't want to, try to confuse anybody, but they said there's more opportunity in emerging markets when there's a weaker dollar.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And also they digged into the commodities, gold and silver.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of touched on the saying how when gold and silver is high, it kind of shows you where the money is going to.
Exactly.
Where the money's moving. So and majority of the countries that they were talking about, I'm not gonna obviously, but let me just say the APAC region.
Mm-hmm.
That's where a lot of motion is going on right now, and a lot of countries are dumping US assets and number one using their currency and buying gold, silver.
Mm-hmm. Does this all sound familiar? Did it all sound? I'm asking a rhetorical question, but did it all sound familiar to you?
Oh yes, it was. You hear it every single day.
Right. Every day from Goldilocks. This is what you hear.
Yes, everything from Goldilocks. I don't hear it from anyone else, and it's easier to understand it. Coming when invited to the meetings and reading the newsletters is easier to understand because Goldilocks is speaking in the same language, and you guys use the same language, so it's real easy to put 2 and 2 together.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And then you have another meeting with another international firm on the 25th, right?
Yes, on the 25th.
Okay. Which one of these? Oh no, I was about to ask you a question, but I know that these are. You went to the Gulf outing. Was that with the private wealth manager?
Yes, that's what the
okay. So that's totally different from these two. Okay, excellent. Because the Gulf outing was when you met the attorneys.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah, the one on the private, the one on February 25th is from the private firm, and The one that I had today was with they're both private firms, but tier one.
Gotcha. Okay. Excellent. And we'll love to hear that update then, because what you're going to find out is in that meeting on the 25th, it's going to be almost very similar to this meeting you had today.
Oh, I'm sure.
Thank you, my good man, and give our love to your beautiful baby girl.
Oh, I will. Thank you.
All right, we appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, folks, we're going to get into these details, just so that you know the reforms, and we're going to get to it in a little bit. This is all about the reforms. When you hear, for example, Ty giving you that brief update on these wealth management firms, they are able to confidently, and the language that they have to use with their clients is to consider. We suggest you consider looking into emerging market currencies for your portfolio. They cannot say, hey, these currencies are going to RV. You better invest in them. No, because it's illegal. This is a very highly regulated industry, the finance market. They cannot coerce. They cannot strongly twist arms. But they can say is, hey, we highly suggest that you consider. And that's what they're doing. Speaking of emerging markets, for example, Vietnam, updating to an emerging market economy. The FTSE Russell has upgraded them. They're going through the final phase of completion of that. Next month is the review. So reforms. And we are going to touch on, like I said, the Iraq Prime Minister mentioned specifically in the answer to the question about the dinar revaluing. He talked about the reforms that the CBI was implementing in order for the Iraqi dinar to revalue. And I'm going to touch on it at that time of why it was relevant to mention it now, because it connects to exactly the reforms that Goldilocks shared this week, that Iraq has another reform they've implemented and more that they're going to implement, which will lead to the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar. All right. My good man, Sniper, you're going to be with me tonight. Are you here?
Yes, sir. Good evening.
All right, my good evening, good man. I'm going to read these first two, and then I'm going to come to you and have you do what you do.
Yes, sir.
All right, appreciate you. And what I would like, I'm going to ask. I'm going to spontaneously ask for a volunteer here in a second, so everybody get ready. But let's get it right on into the core foundation of currency evaluation. As we always are very transparent, and we'll show it to you directly from the source, the Trump administration itself. Quote, currency, and this article, yes, this article is from April of 2024 as well. Coincidentally, the same month, April of 2024, when the Iraq Prime Minister answered the question about the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar live. April 2024. And folks, this article, for those that might be new, not be aware, this article was almost 7 months prior to the election in 2024. This was in April. The election was in November. Currency revaluation, quote, currency revaluation is likely to be a priority for some members of a potential second Trump administration, mainly because of the viewpoint that an overvalued dollar contributes to the trade deficit. The next paragraph, but weakening the dollar could have other far-reaching approaches. Hey, Ty, come back on real quick. Because because I want him to say something again that he mentioned about in the meeting that he had with this international firm about weakening the dollar. What did they tell you about weakening dollar, Ty?
It's getting weaker against other currencies.
So as the dollar gets weaker, other currencies
get stronger.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. So, folks, and this is what Goldilocks has consistently shared and what we've been bringing to you to understand how currencies gain strength. I know. Many of you are thinking one way how currency's revaluation will occur. We are just showing you directly from the fundamentals of the sources. Currency revaluation, the foundational way is as long as the US dollar, folks, was the strongest currency around the world, there could not be no currency revaluation. How? Why? When all countries were heavily dependent on the US dollar, they didn't need to use their own currencies. The US dollar was sweet like a Twinkie. And you know how when you eat that Twinkie and you get into the middle, into the well, I better watch out now. But you know what I'm talking about. That Twinkie tastes good. and them countries didn't want to give up that sweetness. The US dollar was sweet. There was no incentive to use the dinar, the dong, or any other own currencies in global trade when they could just use the US dollar and make a boatload of money, literally boatloads because it's on the water, by just using the US dollar. And this is why in 2017, when the reporter asked President Trump, Mr. Trump, what are you going to do against these countries that are devaluing their currencies? He says, we're going to level the playing field. Folks, tariffs levels the playing field. It forces now these countries to utilize their own currencies in trade. This is where currencies move in value, is on the water through trade. Currency valuation likely to be priority of the second Trump administration. Folks, as I've mentioned before, if you just pay attention to all of the geopolitical moves that President Trump is making, a large part of his moves is geared towards leveling the playing field for all currencies. Although that's not what will be explicitly said in the media, because that's it's not what they're supposed to do. And for those that control the media outlets, they're not going to tell you that. Now, reforms for Iraq. This is very, very apropos about reforms. If you want to know, and all of you, I know every last one of you are very and highly intelligent, and I'm going to share this with you. So Goldilocks shared this week, specifically about the Central Bank of Iraq and what they're doing continuously to stabilize the dinar. This is a reform for the dinar in order for the dinar to be strong enough to revalue. Folks, a revaluation of the dinar, a revaluation of any currency does not become strong overnight. If it's weak tomorrow, it doesn't become strong overnight the next day. If a currency is 0.000037 on Monday, boom, on Tuesday, it does not go to $5, $6, $7, $20. There's a process for the currency to accumulate in strength before that currency is able to revalue. And that accumulation of strength takes time. It takes reforms. It takes reforms that are implemented at the top, from the top to the bottom of every single government and their financial system, specifically their central banks. It is the central banks that control the rates of each currency. And when I say that the central banks control the rates, I don't mean that the central bank will just overnight flip a switch, but what they will do, have done, is they will implement reforms over a period of time that gives them, meaning the central bank and the economy of that country, gives them the stability behind that currency to then begin to raise its value. That is why in April of 2024, when the question was asked to the prime minister, are you going to raise the value of the Iraqi dinar? And his answer, we'll get into that. But this is a reform here, specifically. From this week, the Central Bank of Iraq announced the remittances of auction B344. I'm not going to go into details of what it is and to the technicalities, but I will give you the summary. What this does, and this was on February the 15th, a 15-day window. They've done this several times. With the 14-day term and set for February the 15th is a key monetary policy tool aimed at managing liquidity and supporting the stability of the Iraqi dinar. The link to the CBI is right here that Goldilocks shared that it came from, and two other links and sources. This is about the stability. This is a part of the reforms. This is a part of several of the reforms that the prime minister was speaking about in that live on April the 19th, 2024. And we're going to get into here in a little bit. This is directly from the source. These reforms had to be implemented and continuously have to be implemented. There are others, ladies and gentlemen, so that the stability of the dinar exists before the revaluation, so that the dinar can revalue. A baby that is suckling, you cannot give a baby that is suckling, has no teeth, red meat, and expect it to, well, some of these babies now, I don't know, some of these chunky monkeys, they can tear up some food, but that child is not ready to be from the womb and eating a T-bone steak overnight. It's a growth process. It's time. Iraq has been going through this growth process ever since 2024. The International Monetary Fund has strategically worked with Iraq on these reforms. The World Bank, the U.S. Treasury, the Federal Reserve, the World Trade Organization, and Oliver Wyman International Firm. Collectively, they have been working with Iraq on these reforms. Now, the reforms, how do they go into place? The reforms aren't just Prime Minister saying, hey, implement this reform. The CBI doesn't say, hey, implement this reform. What the CBI does, through the Minister of Finance, they put together a reform package to the Parliament. And the Parliament, like our U.S. Congress, has to either vote yay or nay. You know, like the Clarity Act, like the Genius Act, like all these different things. The president, before it gets to the president's desk, there is a judiciary process. There's a judiciary process in Iraq. The Parliament passed the reforms. Goldilocks shared over the last year and a half, 2 years, since the Prime Minister made this announcement about the dinar, or answered the question, I should say, about the dinar revaluing. Goldilocks has shared all the reforms that have been implemented since then, and we brought it to you every day or every week whenever Goldilocks shared. Here's another one right here in front of you right now. This is all connected to the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar and what they must do. Iraq has been that baby for 30, 40 years or so in the economic industry. A country is not a poor, desolate third world country, and then overnight they're just a rich, bustling nation, top in the world. Doesn't work that way. It's a process, and Iraq has absolutely done. They checked just about all of the boxes, even gold. And just you heard Ty with his wealth management firm, and they're talking about gold and silver. It's like Goldilocks has been sharing about gold and silver and how these countries are ditching the US dollar for gold and silver and their own currencies. Why? Because what's going to back our currencies for the RV? What's going to back our currencies in the new digital banking system? Gold. Iraq ranks 30th in the world, 11th in the last 4 years of accumulating gold. Why do you think that is? Goldilocks shares overall, while not a direct revaluation event meeting this reform, these auctions play a supportive role in maintaining Dinar's confidence and exchange rate predictability. See, folks, the reforms allows a reform allows Iraq, allows Vietnam, allows any country to be able to confidently, plus or minus, predict the rate of their currency. Without the reforms, they're just a toothless baby that just came out the mama's womb. Not ready to walk, not ready to run, not ready to wipe its own butt, nothing. It's a baby. 2024, the question was asked, and I'm going to read it to you. The question, yes, April the 19th, 2024. There's no hiding it. There's no, oh my God, this is way back. Folks, this is connected to the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar and the reforms needed in order for it to happen. I'm going to read before I read this question, I want to volunteer to come on and read the answer that the Prime Minister gave. Read the response from the Prime Minister. Somebody raise their hand. I'm going to come to you. I'm going to ask you to read the Prime Minister's response. If you don't raise your hand, I'll just pick one of y'all. Who would like to read the response from the Prime Minister about the Iraqi dinar revaluation? Raise your hand, raise your hand, raise your hand, raise your hand. All right, so I am going to call, Alice, I was thinking about you. How you doing, beautiful? You can unmute, Alice.
Hey, Freedom. Good evening.
Good evening, young lady. How you and the family doing?
We're doing very well, thank you. I hope you are too. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, young lady. I'm going to read the question to the Prime Minister, and I want you to read the response. You see it right there on your screen?
I do, yes, sir.
Appreciate it. All right. The question that was asked by Loch Ness Monster was, Mr. Prime Minister, is the Iraqi government thinking of revaluing the value of the dinar due to the current circumstances in the market? Or do you see, Mr. Prime Minister, or do you see it staying the same? What's the answer, if you don't mind, Mr. Prime Minister?
This policy is actually dictated by the central bank.
Okay, pause. 1 second. I'm sorry. 1 second, beloved. This policy of revaluing the dinar is dictated by who?
The central bank.
Not by Prime Minister.
The central bank.
not by you, Alice.
Definitely the central bank.
Okay, go ahead, continue. The central bank. And Alice, have you not heard this over and over and over and over again? Who? I already know you knew the answer, but you've seen plenty of times the evidence of this, so you already knew this. I knew you already knew
It
this.
does not matter who is in office because it's always going to be the central bank.
Go ahead, girl. Now, see, you're going to make me do a backflip. Go ahead, continue, please. Please continue with the answer, with his response.
The government abides by the decision of the central bank.
Oh, 1 second. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. The government, when it comes to the revaluation of the dinar, the government abides by the what?
The central bank.
The decision of who?
The central bank.
Okay, go ahead.
Iraq is in the best status we could be in. We have actually had an assessment which has given much trust to higher global parties. So we started reforms when it comes to the...
Hold on. We started what?
Reforms.
No, that didn't say reforms, did it?
That's what it says. It says reforms. It
that's
says
what
we started reforms.
The Prime Minister said this.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can continue, please. Thank you.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
I'm having fun. I missed you, Alice. I'm having fun with you, baby.
I missed you too. I miss everybody so much. This is fantastic. Okay. So assessment which has been given, I'm so sorry. We have actually had an assessment which has given much trust to higher global parties. So we started reforms when it comes to the banking sector. We have spoken about this before, but this is actually going to raise the level of the value of the Iraqi dinar.
Mm-hmm.
You want me to keep going, Freedom?
Yes. I knew you were waiting for me to interrupt you. Now go ahead. I'm not going to interrupt you this time.
There is a consistent policy the central bank is using when it comes to investments and how they invest the money for our own reserves here in Iraq.
Boom. Okay. Now I'm gonna ask the question again. I'm gonna allow you to read it, Mr. Prime Minister, without my interruptions. And I forgot. And please tell hubby to forgive me. Give him my best.
Say
it's
hi.
all good.
There you go. How you doing, young man?
We're doing really good.
Please forgive me. I didn't acknowledge you. I wanted to make sure I acknowledge you. Happy Valentine's Day, my good man.
Thank you, my sir. Happy Valentine's Day to you and all the tribe out there.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Now, I'm going to ask Mr. Prime Minister this question one more time, if you don't mind, sir. All right. Question. Mr. Prime Minister, Mrs. Prime Minister, is the Iraqi government thinking of revaluing the value of the dinar due to the current circumstances in the market, or do you see the value staying the same?
This policy is actually dictated by the central bank. The government abides by this decision of the central bank. Iraq is in the best status we could be in. We have actually had an assessment to which has given much trust to higher global parties. So we started reforms when it comes to the banking sector. We have spoken about this before, but this is actually going to raise the level of the value of the Iraqi dinar. There is a consistent policy the central bank is using when it comes to investments and how they invest the money for our own reserves here in Iraq.
Solid. Thank you, beloved. And folks, what the Prime Minister is speaking of, and you can stay here with me, Alice, what the Prime Minister is speaking of, folks, about reserves, Iraq in March of 2025, Iraq had a meeting with the U.S. Treasury, the Federal Reserve,
the World Bank.
Oh, you remember the World Bank
and the IMF.
And there were two banks. I don't want to mention those banks because people might think that's where they're going to go. They're bum rush. But the meeting, if you recall, Alice, I'm sure it was in Abu Dhabi. And folks, they signed a contract for their reserves of what currencies that they will have in their reserves, meaning the central bank, the Turkish lira, the British pound, Chinese yuan, and the Japanese yen. Now, these reserves are very important because all currencies at some point are going to revalue. And what Iraq did was they built their reserves, their kitty, their piggy bank, if you will, along with the strongest part of their reserves is gold. Gold.
Mm-hmm.
Iraq ranks in the last 4 years 11th in the Middle East region of accumulating gold, ranked 30th in the world. They're stacking their reserves. They're stacking their kitty to back the dinar while simultaneously implementing the reforms to stabilize the dinar, because this is a policy and the reforms necessary, like the Prime Minister stated, that will raise the level of the value of the Iraqi dinar. So folks that are listening, this is why Freedom Fighter put this out on Twitter, because I knew that I would be able to show you tonight. If you just sometimes, in order to know where you're going in the future, you have to turn around.